Football. We had a wild one yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
We had a wild one. Now, start off with the Minnesota-San Francisco game. Just to say it out loud, because right before we started recording, it came out that the Browns hired the offensive coordinator from the Vikings. Am I correct?
Yep, Kevin Stefanski.
Yes, well, Stefanski, you left a Stefanski, because that was they're talking about it right now. The worst offensive output all season. That's your going out card. That's what you want to be remembered for. Kudos to you. And to be honest with you, I think I would much rather be the offensive coordinator at the Vikings than the head coach of the Browns any day.
Oh yeah, that's where you go to disappear. I mean, you go there and you die. Yeah, but to me it was in that game. What was kind of intriguing is I would say, I could be wrong on this, but those the defensive coordinator for San Francisco. I think is it Saleh or Robert Saleh?
I don't know, but the dude's fucking jacked.
Yeah.
Like, why is he not playing?
But I would imagine that those are the two, and then Stefanski, those have to be the two that were kind of the 1 and 2 as far as for taking the Cleveland job. And if that was, I mean, watching that game, that should have been right there number one interview.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it goes to show you that the interviews took place before the game, obviously. Yeah. Maybe it was Stefanski being a little, his attention being diverted a little bit. I don't think so. I think it's that San Francisco defense was that fucking good. Yeah,
and San Francisco, they were. I know, I get it. They were the number 2 draft pick. They tanked last year. They lost their quarterbacks.
I'm pretty sure they went through like 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah. So
kind of like the Steelers this year.
And it played out perfect for them. Mm-hmm. They were able to get the second pick, so where they went with that. They took Bosa, who probably was the best player in the draft last year.
Yeah.
And then loaded him up onto a stacked defense, and then have this, the Saleh kind of comes out of nowhere, because I never really heard any talk about him until this season.
No, and I would really like to see a bench press competition between him and Dustin. Dustin, I love you, brother, but I think he'd kick your ass.
Yeah.
That dude is fucking huge. With all this, 5,000-yard passers, and we saw Michael Thomas break the single season catch record. Jimmy G had less than 200 yards passing. It was just like you said. It was the bully ball. It was we're gonna eat the clock, jam it down your throat, wear you out. And like I said, that bye week had to come in handy because they looked fresh, they looked ready to go, and never once did I see Kirk Cousins look comfortable. Mm-hmm. Wow. The Lamborghini that is Jackson kind of stalled a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what? I probably shouldn't say that, because if you look at the stat line, you're going to be like, holy fuck. I think he's one of the few quarterbacks that have thrown for 300 yards and rushed for 100 yards in postseason history. Mm-hmm. But with the 300, I think it was 388 yards or somewhere right around there, he threw the ball like 52 times.
Yeah.
Anytime you make Lamar Jackson throw the ball 52 times, it's not the way they want to play.
Mm-hmm. And you have him, they basically took the Ravens, they made the Ravens play their game.
Oh, yeah.
The Ravens were not able to play. Look, all through the season when the Ravens were having all their success. Yeah, Jackson's always getting about 100 yards on the ground running the ball, mm-hmm. and he's throwing the ball maybe 18 to 22 times, and you got 4 touchdowns in there. He's not throwing the ball 50 times.
No, he's not. And what I gathered, there's a lot of folks out there that were, oh my God, there's so many drops. Did you see the ducks he was throwing?
You want to know why he's throwing ducks? Because you have him running the ball 20 times. You have him throwing the ball. He's fucking tired.
There was a stat at the end of the game. I'm just shooting from the hip here. That the Ravens ran 90 plays to Tennessee's 55. Mm-hmm. Everything that, the Ravens dominated the time of possession. I just pointed out the fact they ran almost twice as many plays and got shit on.
and they dominated the time of possession, and normally that's what leads to winning games. Mm-hmm. The problem is all their drives stalled out to turning the ball over.
Yep. Either there was 2 interceptions, a fumble, and then there was 4th and 1. They went for it both times and didn't get either.
Yep.
So, Mike Vrabel, man, you got a fucking hot team right now. They beat the number 1 defense last week. Then they beat the number 1 scoring offense this week. So, yeah, and they're going to play either the Texans or the Chiefs, which I would say both quarterbacks are similar as far as their style goes. And if they could contain Lamar Jackson the way they did, granted, neither Mahomes or Watson are runners like Jackson is, man, I think they're going to match up well with either team. Mm-hmm. And one thing I didn't even think about, and they brought it up during the game, is that maybe one of the advantages that Tennessee had was having Mariota run the scout team. Because every other team, and here's kind of a funny story too, is that every team tries to bring someone in to kind of replicate what Jackson can do. Don't get me wrong, Jackson's probably the only person on earth that can do what he's doing. And normally it's like the fastest guy, your DB, a wide receiver. But with Mariota, that was kind of his style. In Oregon, even, they always tried to make him into a pocket passer, which I'm still a Mariota fan. He just needs to be in the right system. And I think that led a lot to the game plan, the scheming. Now, here's a funny story that I heard on, I can't remember which podcast it was, but ironically enough, the Pittsburgh Steelers bring in this dude, and he was an Arena League. I want to say he was in an Arena League quarterback. Very mobile, did a lot of very agile. Well, the dude couldn't make it in the NFL. Lives in Minnesota, I believe, Minnesota or Wisconsin, and he's a huge outdoorsman, duck hunter, which kind of fits in with the whole scheme with Pittsburgh. But they brought the dude in to run scout team for 2 weeks because that's all he did was run. He run and could pass. So there's very unique ways that the league is trying to counteract this very unique talent. But just a little segue I thought was kind of cool. But yeah, so I would have never thought about that unless the commentator said anything, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I really do. But yeah, that was that game. I mean, the Tennessee's defense was stout.
Yep.
And Derrick Henry was Derrick Henry, the only player in NFL history to go over 180 yards rushing in 3 consecutive games. Big ups to that. Has the most rushing yards in his first 4 playoff game appearances by far now. I was hoping he was going to get to 200 yards. Yeah. He ended up with 195, yep. But out of all that, I think he only got stopped for a loss 5 times in these 4 games, which is crazy to me. But yeah, that Tennessee came out hot.
Oh yeah.
And they punched the Ravens right in the fucking mouth, and the Ravens never recovered.
Well, one of the biggest plays right off the bat. I mean, the Ravens' offense on the very first drive moved the ball right down the field, and then they throw a pick, and that kind of changed the whole game. Like Tennessee kind of started to think at that time, we got a shot, and then they were able to match it with a touchdown right there. And
jumped out to a 14-0 lead real quick.
Yeah, and then basically once you get a lead, if your defense keeps on playing, they're going to keep running the football and they're going to run the clock. And
especially with Derrick Henry back there, dude.
They win another football game against, I think about everybody going into this playoff was saying that, maybe some people were leaning on San Francisco, but most people were saying the Ravens were the team to beat.
I'm almost positive that 99% of the people had, the Ravens, Niners penciled in the Super Bowl already. Didn't really fucking matter. Didn't really matter. I was not one of them, but there.
A lot of people, of people that were saying that, and here we're looking at another game where it's. I'm looking at the stat line of last night's game, and for Tennessee, it's basically the same stat line that it was against the Patriots.
Yeah.
Now they scored more touchdowns in this game, but you look at Tannehill. He throws the ball 14 times
For like 88 yards.
88 yards, two touchdowns.
He went one of 5 in the second half for 9 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Something ridiculous like that. So, yeah, this is his second game in a row. He's thrown under 100 yards, and they've won the game.
Yep.
So can you kind of see that maybe San Fran, Tennessee Super Bowl might be one of the more boring Super Bowls if you're looking for scoring. I know last year's, wow. But this, if that were to happen, I think it'd be awesome because, especially for all the football purists out there that don't like this, air it out, throw the ball 50 times. It would be like a Big Ten title game. Back in the day, just three handed off 3 yards in a cloud of smoke type deal. And I think it'd be awesome. I really do.
Oh yeah.
And because you have all these high-flying offenses, the Drew Breeses. We're watching Pat Mahomes here. And even he's kind of slowed down in the second part of the season, but his team's still winning.
Yeah. But you look at it last night, you got Derrick Henry carrying the ball 30 times for 195 yards. He also threw a touchdown pass. So they're running. They had. I mean, the game was in their hands, and they had the Ravens on a string, and they were playing their game. But I love this. I love the way the Titans have played, and most of the credit goes to Vrabel. To me, is they go into this playoffs they have nothing to lose.
No.
Nobody expected them to be
a 9-7 team that no one gave really two fucks about. Now, what was really kind of cool, you mentioned a running back throwing a touchdown pass, and you had a quarterback rushing for one. Ryan Tannehill, the great option quarterback that he is. And what's funny is that after that, the commentators were like, "Oh well, you go back to his college days. He was a wide receiver." That's fine. How many wide receivers run fucking options? None. Stop it. Is he agile enough to do it? Yeah.
He's an above average athlete for a quarterback, for
especially
sure.
at 6'3", and that little okie doke that he threw right before he faked the pitch. If you watch the replays, it tongues all out Michael Jordan style and shit. It was awesome.
But I mean, if you think about it, Lamar Jackson, he's the MVP. You can't argue that at all this season long. But from the time that Tennessee made the change from Mariota to Tannehill, the Titans have been a damn good football team. They deserve to be where they're at.
They've been the hottest team.
It's not like this is a. To me, it's not a. I expected Baltimore to win, but it's not a shocker to me. Like, this is a good football team. They play very good defense. They have arguably the best running back in the NFL right now.
And he's the linchpin of the whole thing.
And there's no running backs in the game that you can hand the ball to. Yes, he's went for 3 consecutive weeks. He's won 180 yards. He's also taken on more than I want to say last week he had 33 carries. This week 30. Running backs these days don't carry the ball that.
No. And we touched on that last week. I mean, you're going back to the Vikings and Peterson days, where give me the ball 40 times, or even with Le'Veon Bell before his whole debacle. And
the difference with Bell is they would find different ways for him to get the ball. Whether throwing, they're not throwing very many passes to Derrick Henry.
There was a couple. There was a handful, but
Bell was catching 7 or 8 a game.
Well, Bell you could put out in the slot if you really wanted to. But no, you're right. He's a very, very unique talent. I'm glad that, like we touched on last week, we're getting to see that talent now. And yes, he's going to be a very rich man. Very rich man.